Waymo self-driving technology versus Uber self-driving technology. Let's go. Actually, it's completely over now, and I'll tell you what happened. Lots of drama, very delicious drama if you really think about it. But Waymo, that's been owned by Alphabet. Well, it's an Alphabet company that's also owns Google. So for the sake of argument, Waymo is a Google company because they kind of started when Google was developing self-driving car. All right, they filed a lawsuit almost at like $2 billion against Uber that is also developing a self-driving technology. And this is something that it looks like the self-driving market is completely and fully going towards, rather than self-driving technology for us regular drivers. That's where technology looks like it's going to first. Well, so, and also Alphabet, the Google company, really, for the sake of the argument, has already invested into Uber. All right, so they're kind of you know, partners, but also competitors. Okay, so there's a bunch of people who were working for the self-driving car technology part of Google that became Waymo. Then they left, make their own company, and then Uber bought that company. And Waymo accused those guys of, you know, stealing secrets. And it really looks like, well, as this company, as they sued them, and there were a lot of testimonies and a lot of interviews that were kind of public, and it looked like Uber was a complete mess that their former CEO left them in, and they were really embarrassed by all of these things that were kind of coming out of. But however, Waymo wasn't really, it looked like they weren't really going to succeed with this trial, that they weren't going to really, and all of a sudden, to surprise to everybody, they've settled. And Uber decided they will pay them $250 million to Waymo and a little apology, I guess. And they kind of shook hands. A lot of people were surprised by this. And by the way, $250 million is really not that much. It's really, I think it was like 1/3% in equity. So Uber is not publicly traded yet, but so it's in addition to what Alphabet already owns of Uber, they're gonna get 1/3%, and that's how they're gonna move forward. And Uber promises not to use any of that technology from Waymo that was stolen. Now we got to do stolen allegedly. And they're gonna go ahead and develop their own thing. Now for Uber, this was just an end of a nightmare PR thing, because there were so many ugly things coming out of already kind of damaged company because of their, you know, former CEO. And you know, Waymo got to move on and, you know, kind of appeared as a winner here, because you know, they're already a bit of a winner because their self-driving technology is one of the best. They already have a driverless, literally nobody behind the wheel of Waymo cars testing in Phoenix, in the Phoenix suburban Arizona. They're expanded to, I think, 7th market, which is Atlanta, Georgia, with that technology. And Uber is kind of coming from behind. They're developing their own. You know, they try buying this company. We'll see what happens with that technology, which supports nothing to happen. So yeah, it's yeah. So Caesar says in the chat room, so many self-driving cars in Phoenix while in the sun. I still need to find the Waymo app to take a ride. Dude, if you don't mind, go ahead and maybe videotape it and we'll put it on the show here, because I'm kind of curious. I was going to drive there maybe to check it out, but if somebody else can do it, that will be even better, because I'm definitely want to see how it works. But here's the point, and this is what I kind of started the show with, that this self-driving technology, and this is what I also gathered at CES last month when I was talking to some of the executives and listening to some of the presentations that we had access to. And you know, it looks like this self-driving technology, people think that it's going to be developed for them so they don't have to, you know, drive their own cars, and that will happen. But first, it looks like where it's going is that this ride-sharing companies is where it's really going to be targeting for many reasons. First of all, a lot of them operate within a certain area, and so therefore they can just develop maps and be very certain the technology works in that area. Where if you sell a car to an individual, they can, you know, bring it anywhere, and if they're not 100% sure, and if they haven't mapped out in 3D everything in the United States and Canada, that could be a problem. So it looks like where it's going. So this lawsuit and the settlement is really showing how much money and how much energy these companies are putting into this, and how much they want to be on top of this self-driving technology, and it is an ongoing fight. So I just wanted to kind of bring attention, not just specifically to this lawsuit, which was really bizarre. If you guys want to read up on it later, I would definitely encourage you to, but also also just the fact that this is going to be a big deal. All right, Model 3 is in the news as well, but before that, I should probably ask you one more time to sort of enter this drawing that Tesla is doing to do just this, sit behind of the semi-truck wheel and actually drive it around. So if you go to the description of this video, use my referral link for Tesla. No need to purchase one. I mean, you could if you wanted to. I strongly recommend, but just enter your email address to submit to their newsletter, you know, to get their newsletter, I think every week or whatever, which is a good thing anyway, but you'll be entering yourself and myself into a drawing to win this experience. And of course, I'll put it on the show. And by the way, also this channel and this show is sponsored by Avanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. And if you're still in the description digging around over there, you will find a code that they've created for our community so you can save a few bucks. All right, so let's move on to some Model 3 news, which was a lot, right? We had delays in the United States. We have everything pushed up in Canada. So there are a lot of unhappy people, a lot of happy people. So a lot of things going on, but nevertheless, it is something that that's been a lot of attention on the Model 3. Now, Tesla actually ended up having to clarify something after the original statement that they had when they were releasing their Q4 earnings. And they basically originally said, well, we have this equipment in Germany that's basically helping us to assemble the battery pack for Model 3. And that needs to be, you know, disassembled and moved all the way here to Gigafactory 1 in Nevada. And we're going to do it before the end of March because we can wrap it up to 2,500 cars per week as we promised. And everyone was like, whoa, wait a second. You guys have to move all this equipment within a couple of months. Is it going to mean more delays? So because the way this made it sound was like that was critical to meet that deadline and to meet that production rate. But now Tesla came out and clarified saying, whoa, that's not what we meant. We can reach the 2,500 cars per week by the end of March. Without that, we're good to go. That equipment just needs to be there so we can get it to 5,000 per week by the end of Q2, like we promised. So sounds a little weird, but I mean, maybe they really did make a mistake, but I hope they did, and this is really not a critical step. It looks like the line is functioning where they have it at their facilities in Germany. It's just a matter of disassembling it, you know, or driving it here and assembling it again. I mean, it sounds simple, but really I think it's not that simple because, you know, that does require you can make some mistakes, and I'm sure it has to incorporate in the facility and into the equipment that you already have and the process you already have at the Gigafactory. So there might be some problems there, but I'm hoping that it's going to be all good. So this is very rare that happens, that Tesla has to clarify stuff, but nevertheless, they decided to go ahead and do that. And so I'm hoping this is more good news for them in a week that's been such a mixed week for them. And tomorrow, you know, we're gonna do a longer show as we usually do. We review everything that happened in you know, this week. I go through all the stories and then we talk about it in a chat room. I answer some questions. You guys tell me what you think about what's been happening. So it's definitely a lot of fun. But let me move on to a comment of the day, which I actually enjoy. Now, it's kind of a long comment of the day, so I'm just gonna put it like this a bit over the chat. But this comes from Mario, and he said, oh, we are, let me rephrase, you are, just calling us out. Or maybe just me in particular. Just a bunch of spoiled brats. A few years ago, there was only Tesla, and now it's the same. Show me the competition. None. What did you say? Leaf that ugly. What Nero half-baked product with panel gaps? And he goes on and on and on. And let me remove it. You can read it in the comment section. So he goes on and on explaining that Tesla was there all by itself a few years ago, and now there's still really Tesla and there's no competition. So, and I just kind of wanted to kind of address this because it's an interesting point, because I think he's half right, but half wrong. So he's definitely right that Tesla is by far the best company to buy your electric car from. Those are the best electric cars with pretty much best technology. And of course, the supercharging network is something that no other car has. This is just how it is. And this is something that's extremely important to people who buy electric cars, right? To be able to travel, to be able to know that they can fast charge, you know, pretty much anywhere within a reasonable distance. And Tesla has done a fantastic job with supercharging network. And I believe this is their strong point. This is their best feature of their car, is outside of their actual car, out there in their supercharging network. But at the same time, you have to understand, Tesla, even now, I mean, they're still, you know, even Model 3 right now costs $50,000. And even if they go down all the way to $35,000, that's still something that people, you know, can't afford necessarily. This is a very expensive car. And those people who do want to buy an electric car on the budget, and there are more of those people than people who can afford Teslas for, you know, $70,000 to $120,000, especially around the world. Those people are into cars like Nissan Leaf. This is why Nissan Leaf is the most sold electric car in the world, over 300,000 sold. Tesla also just crossed 300,000 as well. But those people who want an electric car, yeah, they had to sacrifice range and definitely look. But that was something that they could afford, and they could still drive an electric car. In Europe, for example, there is Renault Zoe that has its own advantages. It's a smaller car that people really need in Europe, especially with so little space for parking. It has a battery leasing program, something that a lot of people enjoy. And I myself is a huge fan of. So it's still relatively cheap with a good range. So people have their own priorities, financial priorities, and just, you know, how big their garage is, how big are parking spaces in their cities, what the charging infrastructure is around them. So you have to understand that people have, you know, their own, you know, needs and means that kind of don't always come together as far as Tesla is concerned. So, but at the same time, I have to say, you know, Niro EV, I don't know where you got the story from about the gaps in their panels and everything, but if anybody who was definitely accused of that was Tesla, and it looks like their early production cars do have some, you know, little issues here and there. Some people think of, you know, big issues, but nevertheless, you know, Kia has been making decent cars, and the fact that they're going to make the car that they're already making in an electric version, and I should probably show you a picture of it, that looks pretty good. That's pretty much the first SUV, electric SUV in the market, though Hyundai announced their SUV as well. I mean, they're kind of sister companies, if you will. This is, you know, and Tesla is not even done kind of ramping up production of Model 3. This car really can compete. They're expected to price it under $40,000, so that's competitive as well, definitely with the Model X. So there's a lot of good things that are happening for other companies. Yes, they're not as good as Tesla for sure, but they are good enough for some people's budgets and needs that they're going to go for it. Like this, you know, if people want an SUV and want an electric car, well, Tesla doesn't have a choice for them, and so they might just opt out for having this. So just kind of wanted to, and I know this is ongoing question, ongoing topic, but I'm glad you brought it up. I really appreciated Mario for comment of the day. You know, definitely let me know in the comment section as you're watching this video in replay in the chat room. So we're kind of maybe on the same page here as far as, yes, Tesla is the leader in the industry, but people still will buy other cars, maybe even in larger amounts, because of their personal situations. So that's why I wanted to kind of address this. All right, guys, it's been fun hanging out with you. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. we're gonna hang out for a couple of hours. We're gonna talk about everything that happened this week, have some fun. I'll answer your questions, so come prepared. I'll make sure to have plenty of water to be hydrated. So I will see you tomorrow. Other than that, remember to stay charged.